I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm heading to Dublin for the Chantel Cameron, Katie Taylor press conference today. So
Fabulous.
nice and early. And good morning, everybody.
Good morning. And Dublin's not a bad place to head to, is it?
No.
Quite a bit of
Yeah.
fun out
For
there.
only for about 3 or 4 hours, so
Oh, all right.
won't be enjoying myself too much,
Uh,
but looking forward to it.
okay, all right. So you would have seen what happened, I'm sure, on Saturday night with Zhang and Joyce. And there's a lot of talk now about maybe AJ going up against him once again. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, obviously AJ beat Zhang in the Olympics. It's a fight that we represented Zhang a few years ago. He's getting on now. I think he's in his 40s, but he's a big, dangerous heavyweight. Joyce, got well beaten at the weekend, and I think big fight in China potentially. Zhang against Anthony Joshua. Of course, the talks continue for us with AJ against Wilder. It doesn't look like that fight's going to materialise till probably February or March now. So there is a chance that AJ fights in December as well, and he'd definitely be up for the Zhang fight. I think we always talked about that fight with Zhilei Zhang in China. No one really came up with the goods out there. We always dreamt of the Bird's Nest Stadium and stuff like that, but he's building a name for himself at this point in his career, and still a dangerous man.
Is that you say the Wilder fight, I mean, might take till February? Is that because of Wilder, or is it the location? Is
No,
it the
both. No, there's Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder both agreed terms with the representatives from
okay?
Saudi Arabia. There's been a little bit of a shift in movement in terms of, I guess, a little bit of boxing politics in Saudi Arabia. And I think that fight now unlikely for January. So if that fight goes on till February or March, then we may fight again in December. AJ's been nice and
Yeah.
active, really the first time for a long time, since he had the belts, when you get a bit tied up. He's boxed in April and in August, and he's ready to go back into camp. So realistically, we'd love to go straight back into the Wilder fight, but it all just depends when it can get signed.
Yeah, all right. But back onto Zhang then, and there's talk that I think he was trying to call out Tyson Fury, wasn't he? But his trainer came out and said, well, he doesn't want to fight anymore when it comes to Tyson Fury. And Frank Warren has also sort of tried maybe to deflect on those comments. Do you think Fury's kind of done when it comes to heavyweight boxing now?
Well, I hope not. I mean, I said before, I think he's the number one heavyweight in the world right now. I think he's got a chance to create a great legacy in the sport. But he hasn't really beaten. If you look at his wins in his career, great win against Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder, and that's it. So the fight with Usyk is on a plate for him, as is the fight with AJ. And I think if Fury was to win those fights, he goes down as an all-time great, which he would be the favourite to do. So obviously he's got the Ngannou fight coming up, which is interesting, but I'm not sure what legacy means to him. But listen, he's entitled to go out there and earn his money, and that's what he'll be doing against Francis Ngannou.
There was a nice win for Conor Benn, wasn't there, Eddie? And there's not many fights that I really want to see, but one of them is Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. I feel like
Yes.
the trash talk before the fight will be exciting to see, and I think the fight as well. Conor Benn
Yes.
looks in good form, and Chris Eubank Jr. was outstanding, wasn't he, in his last fight?
Yeah, it's a massive fight. I mean, obviously the history. Last time we put that fight on, we all know what happened, and
Yeah.
it was the fastest selling fight in the history of the O2. This time, it's probably twice as big. The controversy. Conor Benn's been talked about for the last year non-stop. He got back on Saturday. Great performance in Orlando. He was a bit rusty. Been out of the ring for 18 months now.
Wow.
And the talks continue with Team Eubank. We want to make that fight for December 23rd. Our priority is to try and make that fight for the UK. We'll be speaking to the British Boxing Board of Control. They had no objections to him fighting in Orlando and spoke to the commissions out there. So we can box Conor Benn internationally. The rolling debate, he's cleared to box. The board have confirmed that internationally. It's just a case of whether they'll clear him to fight in the UK at the moment after winning his case, which legally they should do. They have talked about an appeal after they lost to Conor Benn. And we'll see if that happens. We would love to do that fight in Wembley or the National Stadium, the Cardiff Stadium. But we've also had offers to do it internationally. But I feel like Ben Eubank is, the biggest fight in British boxing right now outside of AJ Fury, and hopefully these two can meet.
You don't want it to come too late, do you? Either the Brook and Khan one come a bit too late. You want this to happen
You got
now.
to say that Eubank's in, I guess, is it the prime of his career? It's a good win against Liam Smith. Conor Benn's only a young man, really, and there's not many paydays out there for Chris Eubank Jr. And he's coming off a great win, so he'll be flying at the moment. Spoke to his team as recently as yesterday. and looking to try and close the deal. Callis Allen, who's a friend of ours, is promoter. He's a free agent with any broadcaster. So no reason why that shouldn't happen other than a little bit of ego and hatred now, which exists. You know, before it was a bit like just a family legacy. Now they can't stand each other, which always makes it a little bit difficult to get over the line, but we're hoping we can.
Eddie, I just wanted to pick up on something you said about the British Board of Boxing and how you feel they don't have an issue with Conor Benn fighting. Obviously, I understand his suspension was lifted after the drugs test and the issues that arose from 2 failed drugs tests. There are people, though, I mean, Robert Smith has been quoted as saying he's not happy that Conor fought in Orlando over the weekend. What do you say to those people that believe it's not great, but it's a great... They're saying it's not a great look for the sport when he hasn't completely clarified how the substance got into his body.
Well, you say that, but he got himself in a position where he had to go before a hearing with the WBC and BARDA, who are the ones that actually conducted the test. He was cleared, he was reinstated into their rankings. Everybody said, no, you must go through the British Boxing Board of Control and UKAD, even though he passed all their tests. He said, okay, if that's what you want, I'll do it. He went through that procedure and he won his case. After that, his suspension is lifted and he's cleared to box. Now, Robert Smith, a bit of a play on words on talkSPORT, really, because he said, I don't think he's cleared his name. But the fact is, he's cleared to fight. He won his case. And when the ABC and the Florida Commission, the Texas Commission, contacted Robert Smith last week to say, is Conor Benn cleared to box? Please let us know if he's not. He couldn't do that because Robert Smith knows that Conor Benn is cleared to box. Now, they have a right to appeal, which they say they're going to do. We have no date for that. But at the moment, Conor Benn won his case. He's cleared to box, and that's what he's doing. If he's not cleared to box, or if he's suspended, or if he loses his case, he won't box. Simple as that. So, he hasn't boxed for 18 months. There's no reason why he shouldn't box. His suspension has been lifted. He's cleared to fight around the world. Obviously, there's a lot of disgruntled people at the Board of Control, and Conor Benn's happy to go through any process. He's provided all the information that's been asked of him in these hearings, and he won the case. So if there's an appeal, he'll be there, and I believe he'll win the appeal. But right now, there's no reason for him not to box. Well, there's just a potential appeal pending. It's a very strange situation where we see the Board of Control coming on talkSPORT to talk to Simon Jordan. I've never seen anything like it, but I understand this is something that has ruffled some feathers. But Conor Benn's been through every process that's been asked of him and has now been cleared again. So we'll see what happens with a rematch, but it was great seeing him back to work.
And it's great to have you on the show, Eddie. Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Safe travels to Dublin.
Guys, take care. Bye.
Eddie Hearn there then joining us. He's got a busy day ahead as he heads out to Dublin. But AJ Zhang, that could be a fight on the cards, and more to come from Conor Benn as well.